Hey guys, so this is going to be an Azure Sentinel Lab series. It's going to be a little bit advanced, but if you stick with me, we're going to set up a syslog collector, on a Linux box from scratch. You're going to understand how syslog works. You're going to understand how to filter. You're going to understand how Sentinel logs are sent to Sentinel and understand how logs work. And then from there, once you get the logs to Sentinel, we're going to understand queries. We're going to build some workbooks. We're going to build some dashboards, some notebooks. We're going to build some rules. We're going to have those rules trigger automation to open up a ServiceNow ticket or call up an API, enrich some data, and show you the power of Sentinel in this lab series. How does that sound? So again, this is going to be a little advanced, but I'm going to try to explain as best as I can. We do have a Become an Azure Sentinel training level 4. It's a really great blog, so I'll include the link in the description so you can learn more about Sentinel. I'm not really going to just go too deep into explaining how Sentinel, overall works. There's a lot of videos and guides around that. This is really just setting up a lab and getting our hands dirty and just labbing out. Okay, so by the time you're done, you would be able to build queries, dashboard workbooks, and all this without leveraging a template at all. Right? You're gonna know how it works. But before I get started, make sure you know KQL. So check out my KQL series. It's about 4 videos, and I plan to add more later, but the 4 videos should get you enough information or enough foundational knowledge to be ready to understand a lot of the content here in this training. Before I get started in Sentinel, I wanted to take the time to teach you about logs. I think it's important because in order to understand Sentinel, you got to understand logs. You got to understand the data. You don't want to just send all your logs into Sentinel and then just expect it to work. You have to understand kind of the data and what you want to do with the data. A scenario would be, let's say you're getting a suspicious travel. Maybe Azure Identity Protection notified you that there's a suspicious user. But you don't want to do an alert yet. You don't want to engage your team yet. So you want Sentinel to go out and find out more about a user, and then from there have that data already available so that when you open up a ticket, the ticket already has enough data that the analyst can work with, that he doesn't have to go out and find it himself. So you're enriching the data with other data points. So Sentinel can do that for you because you're ingesting it from your third parties, you're ingesting it from your Microsoft products, right? All this data is coming in and you're trying to correlate that data and do automation and orchestration with it, okay? So before we get into Sentinel, we want to understand the logs. Syslog is a very common format for logs. Also very common is Ceph logs. Ceph logs and Syslog all kind of flow in the same port, usually on 514. And here's a question: is Syslog TCP or UDP? It's a trick question. It's both. The default format, what protocol uses is UDP. UDP is connectionless, so it's not going to verify if the packet made it to the target, the syslog collector. You don't always want to expect that if the log isn't there, it doesn't mean it didn't happen, because maybe the log never got to the collector and never got to Sentinel. So if you want to make sure the log gets there, you want to do TCP, okay? Send syslog via TCP. But again, by default, it's UDP, so just keep that in mind. But for this scenario, we're just going to go with the default. We're going to try to keep it basic and give you an understanding of syslog, okay? And I'm going to show you some examples. If you want to follow along, spin up a Linux box, whether it's a Docker, whether it's a Ubuntu VM, whether it's in Azure or AWS. Get a Linux box, okay? And just get access to the box. And then I'm going to show you how you can get it working. All right, this is the Linux shell prompt. Whether Ubuntu, whether CentOS, the commands are pretty much the same. You may have to change it depending on you're going to want to do app install RSyslog first. You got to make sure it's installed. Make sure it's installed, all right? And then once it's installed, you're going to do netstat-ano, and that will show you if we're listening on the port. Syslog is port 514. It's not on there, right? So we got to go enable it. So you're going to go to you're going to nano etc rsyslog.com. Okay? And then you're going to want to delete some of these comments to make it look like this. It'll look like this, right? And you're going to want to delete those so that now we're listening to port 514 and 514 for UDP and TCP, okay? This will let you know that it's listening on that port. Syslog will listen to the port, but we have to make sure the packet comes in. So how do we do that? Okay, well, let me get out of here. You want to press Control X, okay? And then if it says you want to say, push Y for yes or push an N for no, and put no. And let's do a TCP dump. But let's do an ifconfig to just look at the interface. We want to make sure we know what interface we have, Ethernet 0. And then you just do TCP dump, and then you just say I ETH0 port 514. I don't have TCP dump installed. So let's do app install TCP dump. All right, let me do app update. So first I'm going to do app update, and then we're going to do app install. I don't really know the packages. Let's try TCP dump. Oh, there we go. So let's download TCP dump so we can listen on the packets. TCP dump is a way to just see the packet flow, the network packets at a network level, okay, of just what's coming in, okay? So you could do TCP dump -I ETH0 port 514. That will say we are going to listen on port 514 on Ethernet 0. Okay, what you can do is you have another Linux box and you can send logs to it. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go to another Linux box. Let me just do my Ansible box. So we have another box, and then we're gonna do logger. We're gonna put the IP address of that, whatever when you set up the VM, you're gonna find out what the IP address is that picked up, and then you're going to do logger 10.60.0.31. You want to put --server to identify the server, --port 514. I don't think you have to do it, but I'm just going to do it anyways. And then we're going to do the message. We'll say this is a test. And as you can see on the bottom here, the message came through. It came from IP. And then it said user notice. So the message came through. You don't really see the contents of the message, but it did come through. To know where it came through, you have to go to cd var log. So let's do let's tail it. It didn't come in. Why didn't it come in? So we know that it came through the machine. Now, if it didn't come through the machine for you, and you did a TCP dump and it's still not coming in, then you may want to check your firewall rules and on the machine and see if the firewall's blocking it. But with that TCP dump, you're going to get some information of did the packet actually reach it, right? So let's do netstat-tupln again. Oh, remember if you do netstat-ano, it says we're not listening to port. So we have to start syslog. I turned it off to, have it not there, but we do service rsyslog start. Okay? So now that we start Syslog, let's go run that netstat again. And now we're listening at port 514. So the packet came in, but it had nowhere to go. Our Syslog wasn't listening to it. So now it's listening. Let's do a TCP dump again. TCP dump, interface, Ethernet 0. Maybe you can just do it with a port 514. Yeah, that works too. So listen, it'll listen to all interfaces. All right, let's do it again. All right, the packet came in. It's a notice, user notice. We're going to get to that because what happens is if you don't provide a facility or and severity, then it might not populate because our syslog will only log what you tell it to log. And by default, some stuff is not turned on. Tail -5. That's just the last 5. Tail is look at the end of the logs. And there you go. So it came from, so if you look at it, you can kind of see the structure. It's the timestamp, then it's the host, then it's the user, and then it's the message. Okay? That's a standard syslog, very basic. I'm not going to go too much into it, but we know the log is coming in. Okay? Now that we know the log is coming in, hopefully you're at this point where the log is coming in. Again, if you're not at this point, check if your firewall is turned on, and you may need to open up the port so that the Linux box can listen to that port. You may just have to, enable port or enable that port for syslog so we can monitor it. But that TCP dump is going to be very helpful because that packet needs to come in so that RSyslog can pick it up. Now, I'm going to explain RSyslog a little bit further. And there's also Syslog-ng, but I've been used to RSyslog, so that's what I'm going to use. It's pretty common, and it's turned on by default in most OSs. We're going to go and I'm going to show you the conf real quick because I want you to know why it's logging. So if you look here, and we're just going down, we're going down. We're going to go to the rules. Here we go. So I want to log user.star. Remember, it was user.notice when we did the logging. User.notice, that's by default. If I say there's different severity levels, so it'll go by that level and anything higher than a level. So star means any level, right? So we want auth priv to go here. We want cron to go here, daemon logs, current logs, LPR, mail, user logs. Here's another thing to notice. Star.star is going to var log syslog. So it's being stored in 2 different locations. So it'll first hit this one because it's the star.star. It'll store it in var syslog, and then user, it'll also store it here. So it's going to store it in 2 different locations. Unless you have sort of an indicator that says, I want you to stop after this. So let's go, what was it again? It was in varlog user. So let's look at that. Tail user.log. There you go. So it showed up in 2 different locations. Why is that helpful? Or why do you need to know that? You can parse your logs and store them in different files. So imagine that you have logs coming from different sources. You can put them in different files. You can pull from files and then send it to different remote collectors. You can parse the logs. You can do regular expression on the logs. You can call the logs. You can pull only what you want and send it to the collector or do whatever you want. Does that make sense? A lot of power and understanding. When the log comes in, we want to do something with it. What happens if we go here and let's comment out this? And we're going to leave this one. Remember, I did Control X, yes to save. Whenever we change our configuration, our syslog will not pick it up automatically. You're going to have to restart that service. Service, RSyslog, restart. Okay, now that we restart it, it picks it up, the new configuration file, and let's test it out. So we're going to, here's another cool tip. We're going to tail-f. F means just, keep going. and we're going to do messages. We're going to do logger. This is a test. And it comes in. It shouldn't have come in. Star.info, notice, and warn. These are all, oh, it has a catch-all as well. Let me clear this catch-all. See? So there was another catch-all right here. So let me comment that out. Let's restart Syslog. Tail that as well. This is a test 5. It's not coming in anymore. All right. Number 5. Let's go look at the user logs. And they came in the user logs. So you're controlling where the log is going. Okay. This is important to know because, you know, you can send all your logs to collector, but you don't have to collect everything. You can stop it here, or it's better to actually stop it and call it at the sender. So if your device can kind of check mark and turn on and turn off logs of what you want to send, that's better because now you're not using resources on the collector to go, you know, process that. Does this all make sense? Okay. So let's go back to Nano. Let's scope it even further. I'm going to do something custom. We're going to do a new user.warn, and we're going to send it to var log messages. Actually, we'll put it in the syslog folder. Okay, we got to restart RSyslog. Let's tail -f, and we're going to say test number 5. It's not coming in. Why is it not coming in? Why is it not coming in? Think about it. Why is it not coming in? Let's go. Let's see if it came in, though. It did come in. There it is. See, it's coming in. Well, why is it not going to syslog? Look at the configuration file again. Remember I said it has to be that level and higher? The level is, you know, there's error levels, or there's different severity levels. A info or notice is lower than warning. So warning and higher. So I actually have to tag warning as a priority. Let's tail syslog, and we're gonna do, let me do a -- help. If you need to know, you know, command, you might not have to go in docs. You might just do -- help and get what you need. But there's a priority. There it is, the priority. Logger, server, 10.60.31, port 514, and then we're going to do priority user.error. User error. Let's try again. Maybe it didn't like parentheses. Test. User error test message. There it comes. So it made it to the syslog collector, and we did user error. If I do user info, it won't come in. If I do warn, will it come in? Yes. If I do notice, will it come in? Notice is lower than warn, it won't come in. But all these messages still showed up in the user log. See? Does that make sense? So now that it's sent to syslog or stored in, you can kind of control syslog. Now that you know that, let's start logging the Sentinel. So if you want to log in the Sentinel, you're going to need what they call an OMS agent. The OMS agent is Microsoft's agent that will take whatever logs by RSyslog or Syslog-ng and take it and send it up to Sentinel. The configuration is also within RSyslog. So imagine that the packet comes in on 514. When the packet comes in on 514 and then RSyslog will listen to the packet, it will go through the rules. OMS agent adds a rule, and the rule says if it's this level or this user level or this facility or this severity, send it to Sentinel. So it's separate from what you have configured, and I'll show you. So first, you are going to want to go into Sentinel and then go to your data connectors. You're going to want to go into Syslog, open the connector page, And then you're going to want to open your workspace agent configuration. Remember, Sentinel is built on log analytics, okay? And then you go to Syslog, you're going to have to turn on what you want to listen to. By turning it on here, it pushes it down to the agent. Or if you don't want to configure here, you can customize the agent to send what you want. So you may have a collector send whatever it wants, and you may have another collector send whatever it wants, right? Whatever you decide, you can have it globally managed here, or you can custom manage it per collector. Whatever you decide, but you can see all the facility names we were talking about, like user, and then you check mark the level that you want to send. So I'm sending everything to Sentinel. This is going to be separate from what you have already configured. So you may store it in the message folder, you may store it in the log, but another rule is going to send that over to Sentinel. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the Syslog collector. All right, so the collector is our syslog.d ls. Here we go. So the 95 OMS agent is usually the syslog collector. And if you want to turn on ceph logs, it'll add this other rule. Imagine that global rule, the RSyslog.conf, is sort of a global rule. And then 95 OMS agent is another rule that will trigger. And then security config is just another rule. So you're just kind of separating rules into different files so you can kind of organize it. So we're going to look at the 95 OMS agent and show you what it looks like. And as you can see, whatever you turn on is going to show up here. Okay? If you notice, I commented out everything and I'm doing a custom one. I'm doing a custom one. The reason I'm doing custom one is because I want to show you exactly that I'm not sending anything, but anything with the word test. So I'm filtering if the message contains test, then send it to this port. This port is a special port that the OMS agent is configured to listen to. So remember, our syslog is listening to 514. So basically the syslog packet will come on the 514. It will then come into the our syslog will listen to that port 514, pick up the packet, go through the rules, and when it goes through the rules, this rule sends it to 25224. So it takes that and sends it to another port, where then you have the OMS agent listening to that port and then sends it on through. Does that make sense? Ceph, if we look at the Ceph, we have if raw message contains Ceph or ASA, then send it to 25226. If you do netstat-ANO, you can see syslog is listening to here, and then the OMS agent is listening to here, and then Ceph is listening over here. See? So we have everything listening for different purposes, different formats. Okay? Let's do a TCP dump on port 25224. And remember, we're listening for test. So nothing, our syslog doesn't process the rule, but only send test. And if it doesn't have test, it won't come through. So let's do logger -- server 1060.0.31 port 514 priority user error alert. Doesn't come in. But if you do test alert, still doesn't come in. Maybe it didn't show up there, but maybe it showed up in Sentinel. Let's check. We will do syslog. We'll pipe it. We'll do let's do last 30 minutes. And we're going to limit by 10. And we're going to sort by time generated. Did that come in? Oh, there, it came in. So it didn't show up in TCP dump, but oh well. It did come in though. So error test alert came in. See, syslog med error alert test. Does that make sense? Let's do one that doesn't have test. Let's do one that doesn't have test. So let's do it again. We're going to do logger test alert 1, test alert 2. Then we're going to take off test. We're going to do 3. Then, oh, whoa. I did 255, 244. I got to go back to 514. All right, let's do it again. Alert test 1, alert test 2. We're going to remove test. We'll go 3. We'll go test 4, test 5. So what we should be seeing is we're going to see 1, 2, 4, 5. We're not going to see the other one because we don't have a rule to catch that and send it up to Sentinel. Let's limit it by 5. All right. 1, 2, 4, 5. Perfect. So this is how you can kind of filter syslog. Maybe you only want to send certain messages. This is how you can cull data at the collector before it goes to Sentinel. So you don't have to pay for it, right? You only want to send logs you're going to use. If you're not going to use it, why are you going to send it, right? You don't want to hoard that data. You want to have data that you can use and you're going to do something with it, okay? So does that make sense, everyone? Again, we're going to have 2 different files. If I go and edit that 95 OMS agent and I go turn on all of these back on, then now if it comes with any of these types that's being pushed by the global policies, it's going to come in, okay? And right here, if this rule comes in, what's going to happen if I have 2 rules that match? Do you think a double entry will happen? Huh? Let's see. Now that I have that configured, what do we need to do? We need to restart RSyslog. Now we're gonna, let's just do port 514. Okay, and then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do test 1, 2, and then we're gonna do alert. Let's do user.error. Just to make sure it comes through priority. User.error, alert 3, and then we'll do test 4, 5. So we know all the logs came in. It went to 414. TCP dump shows the log flowing in. RSyslog is gonna listen to the packet, go through the rules, and if it matches, then it sends it up to Sentinel. Okay, does that all make sense? Now let's go check Sentinel out. Limit 5. All right, there we go. Okay, so it did come in. See, double messages. Double messages are coming in. Now here's a curious thing. The test came in, right? Let's do limit 20 because it was double messages, so it was more than 5. See, 1 came in, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. So double messages came in because I had that catch, and then 3, and then 4, 4, 5, 5. Does that make sense? Because you didn't have a double message because it didn't match test, so it didn't activate the other one. Okay. If you look at the configuration file again, it activated probably this one, user notice, and if it has a test, then it's a double entry. So be sure you're aware of this. If you turn on Ceph logs, Ceph log still comes in Syslog, right? It may be a double message. That's why you're going to look at the configuration whenever you're loading your OMS agent and you're installing it. Make sure you are aware of that, okay? Let's run through the installer just so you know. Data connectors again. We're going to go to Syslog. We're going to open the connector page. Now, when you download this agent, you're going to keep in mind your workspace ID and primary key, okay? All right. So Here's the agent installer. So you want to get this wget, copy that message, and then copy your workspace and primary key. But here's the cool thing. It already comes preloaded. This, if you copy here and click that copy button, it already has your message for you. Then you go to your collector and then just paste that message and just run it. It's going to automatically configure the policies, set it all up, provision it, turn it on. It should work. And it should work for, Ubuntu or CentOS, right? If it doesn't, there's a troubleshooting tool you can run to kind of troubleshoot it. Okay? So again, see, it's starting the suite, it's installing, it's going to turn it on, and then it tells you you can run the troubleshooter if you need help. To run the troubleshooter, just do a opt Microsoft, opt Microsoft OMS Agent bin troubleshooter. Okay? And it runs a troubleshooter. You may require Python and things like that. You're going to require certain, if you want to install it, you might have to install Python 3 and certain dependencies. So remember, just go app install and those dependencies, or yum install those dependencies. Okay? But once the agent is installed and you got RSyslog working good, OMS Agent just really is just adding extra rules here for that. Okay? If you're going to send Ceph logs, let me show you real quick. Yeah, let me do Ceph logs. So if you look at Ceph logs, if raw message contains Ceph, right, or ASA, then send it over to that port. That port will know it's in the Ceph format and then parse it and stick it in. So here's an example. Okay, let me think of an example. I actually have it in Jupyter Notebooks. I'll show you an example. So I'm making a Jupyter Notebook that, kind of an instruction guide. But for the Ceph logs, I'm parsing. I'm gonna grab some events, and it's coming from a log file. This log file, right? So let's do the Ceph sample log. So we're gonna do Ceph sample log. We have 4 entries, and let me see what the entries are. So here's the entries. So Ceph is going to be a different format, right? So as you can see, it's a different format. It's Ceph, Microsoft, ATA, blah, blah, blah. It's a different format, okay? All right, but it's coming in through a different format, right? And the reason it's coming in a different format is because Ceph, if it's coming via Syslog, everything's in that message content. But if you send it via Ceph, you can specify the columns with key value pairs and just have those columns populate. It can already be pre-populated and normalized and structured by the time it comes in, which is going to be helpful because then you can you don't have to parse the syslog and then query it for a column. It already comes and placed in the right column. Let's just do the TCP dump just to see if it comes in. All right. So those logs is going to come in, logger. We're going to log to that port. It's the same thing. I'm just variables. And then the priority is local warn 4, tag Ceph, right? And then we just have to match the format, okay? I'll go into this later, but I just want to show you Ceph. So we send this through, and it doesn't come in. Formatted logs for each object. Logger tag Ceph. Oh. Let's do this. There we go. So the logs came in. 4 entries. Sentinel. And go to Common Security Logs. And Microsoft ATA logs. Yep. Log Severity 5. Here's a message. Device. Activity. Does that make sense, guys? So it's now coming in, and it's coming in structured. Activity, application protocol, external ID, See, it's coming in the right format, okay? So with Ceph, it comes in kind of structured. Does that make sense, guys? So what did we talk about? You now know about Syslog. You now know about what port it comes in. You now know that the flow is the packet comes in 514. RSyslog will listen for it. It'll run through the rules. It's global, it's global configuration file or specific rule files that has been configured by whatever app, and then it'll roll through those rules and log whatever needs to be logged. It could log all that. It could log it to a file. It can log it. It can send it remotely to another collector. It can send it to another port. It can take a file, and then if you store something in a file, you can pull from that file and store it somewhere else. You can group it into different files. A lot of things you can do with Syslog. But now that the logs are coming to the collector, you are kind of deciding what you want to send to Sentinel. And again, you can configure that in the data connectors and set up the facilities and severity, or you can just configure it manually in the collector. All right. So go play around. Take the KQL knowledge that you learned in the other examples, because now that it's coming in either via Syslog. You can do count, right, in the last hour, right? It's going to be via Syslog, or it might be your common security logs if it's going to be Ceph logs. So when it comes in, it'll show up here, Syslog or common security logs. Now, here's another thing I want to caveat. If you're sending Ceph logs over and then sending it to Sentinel, the Ceph logs might already have additional timestamps or might not match the right format. So you do have to make sure it's in the right format. Otherwise, it doesn't know how to parse correctly. Okay? It has to be in the right format, right? And there's different Ceph versions. There's different Ceph Syslog RFC, formats. So you just have to make sure you're seeing the right format. Or if it's not, you parse it. And don't have duplicate entries. You want to just cut that up because it's going to cost you more money. It could mean the difference between a $1,000 bill or a $500 bill just because you duplicated entries, right, with your Ceph logs and Syslogs. So don't do that and save some money. All right, so this is Sentinel. Hopefully this was helpful. I know I went to Syslog. I know there might be some commands that you might not know, so just learn, figure out, what commands that I kind of did. If you want a more in-depth Linux tutorial, I could give that as well. If you want me to dive deeper into RSyslog and actually go into configuration files, it gets pretty deep with RSyslog. And let me know what you want to see outside of Sentinel. But in this series, after this, we're going to start building queries. We're going to build our own workbooks. We're going to build some dashboards. We're going to build some charts from this data that we're going to make. Okay? And so it's going to be fun. So please please subscribe. If you don't, I don't know what you like, and I might refocus on another topic that has more interest, right? So if you're interested in this and you like it, please subscribe, and let me know you like this content. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day and stay safe.